behind.
Right.
And
that's tough.
It is tough. It is really tough. That's why I emphasize the fact that, no, I wasn't born to be successful, and I have not reached any pinnacle I'm climbing. And every day, making a decision, I either make a decision, to have a great day and to get better, or I don't make a decision, and that's a decision in itself.
That's right.
So it's really about that. But the mindset things are banishing all sorts of negativity and replacing that with gratitude.
I think that's huge.
And, I spend a lot of time on gratitude because I need to. And that leads to optimism.
Yeah.
And I also really need to think about abundance. And I really focus and meditate on abundance for everybody. Not that gimme, 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 this is mine.
Right.
But there's abundance that's
enough to go around, not have a scarcity. It's either a zero-sum game where either I win or you win. It's
Right.
So on the meditation, is that a daily thing you're doing?
I do. Sometimes very briefly. Sometimes I'll spend 10 minutes. I really shoot for 10 minutes, but sometimes I'll just do a minute or two, if that's all I've decided to allow myself that day. But ideally, 10 minutes of meditation is really good for me.
So now you've been doing well for a while, so this is interesting that you kind of recently are really trying to focus on the gratitude and getting rid of negativity.
Mm-hmm. Recently, meaning in the last decade.
I was going to say, are we talking like 6 months, or are we talking?
No, I'm 48 years old. Okay. So within the previous decade.
Okay.
And really up until 38 years old, I just kind of wandered through life. I didn't make decisions. I just went where the wind blew me.
Right.
Or did what I felt was expected of me. And at that point, I had some pretty big changes in life and made a decision to learn a better way. And as I said, I have not achieved anything except, daily progress.
I would say, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you is, there's the whole, what's your definition of success and all that. But I think ultimately, look, you biked to the beach this morning for something. Right. We have our lunch meetings. I mean, you've designed your own life. And I think that's through, living with intention of some kind. Right, and that's kind of going back to what you're talking about. So in the last decade or so, it was let's decide. I get what I decide. I think I've never heard that before, but I like that. That's very, very interesting. Do you have any kind of like a normal daily routine or anything like that, a morning routine what does that look like? I do. And I like Tony Robbins, as I know you do. Yeah. And he talks about modeling success. Yeah. Success leaves clues. And again, at my stage of life, I can't afford to make my own mistakes. I'm too old now to make my own mistakes. And I wish I had learned that earlier, but that's water under the bridge. But now that's why I read so much. That's why I make phone calls to people that I admire and say, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Help me understand why I'm struggling with this. And I try to help people when I can, because we all learn from each other. As far as the morning routine, it can be found in The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, H-A-L, and then his last name is E-L-R-O-D. Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And I just read that book, and I found that I had been doing the vast majority of what he recommends, but he just outlines it so well. That is... Okay.
So I'll do today. My feet hit the floor at 4:55 a.m., which Hal talks about sending a message to the universe of what I'm willing to do today. And what I'm willing to do is hit the floor before 5 a.m. And I barely made it today, but I did hit the floor before 5 a.m. Out the door about 5 after 5 after drinking a big glass of water in my workout clothes. I put my Bluetooth headphones on and listened to Gary Keller's book called The One Thing.
Interesting.
Gary Keller is the founder of Keller Williams Realty. I am not a realtor, but he is in my opinion, a brilliant guy. And Gary Keller and Jay Papasan wrote this book called The One Thing. And a friend who is extremely successful in this business in Texas recommends it. And that's how he built his business, is by doing one thing at a time. It's focus. So I listened to that book on my bike on the way to the beach this morning. In the distance, I could see flashes of light over the ocean. It was still dark. And I could not figure out what on earth it was until I got to the dunes, and there were big thunderhead clouds with lightning flashing. So I just really sat and watched that for about 10 minutes. And that was my meditation this morning. It was dark. It was quiet. I did not close my eyes, but my voice is shaking talking about it because it's very emotional to, connect to those things you believe in spiritually and physically and, the people around us by watching the lightning flash over the ocean.
That's amazing.
So that was pretty cool. And that was a gift. That was a gift that I got for getting up early this morning, or normal time. And then back to our little office here at about 5 after 6, and I read some affirmations that I've written for myself that describe to me who I want to be by saying I am whatever I want to be. My personal affirmations. And then I read some Napoleon Hill. There's a little condensation of Napoleon Hill called the Success and Leadership Formula. That's not what it's called. Leadership is in there, but I read that every morning.
Holy smokes.
Napoleon Hill's Leadership Formula. And then there are a few other exercises, things that I read. I have them on my laptop, but it's a single Word document with just bullet points and I rewrite them all the time. My purpose is the other one, is I've written for myself a life's purpose and a business purpose. And this Gary Keller book, The One Thing, is really helping me focus in on what can I do to achieve my purpose and to live in alignment with intention, to live in alignment with my purpose.
Holy smokes. Yeah, you're so that is a serious morning routine.
At 6:30, my girls get up. This is their last day of school. So at 6:30, I make breakfast or have breakfast with the girls, my 2 daughters who live with us, and I have 2 other children who don't live with us. And then today I had an early meeting, so I took a quick shower and got dressed, and then drove my girls to school at about 7:45, breakfast with another investor at 8 o'clock. And then met you here at 9.
Holy smokes.
Then I'm meeting Rich, our other investor buddy, at 10:30 on the other side of town to look at a deal. And then I have another appointment this afternoon to look at a deal. And then I'm done, buddy. That's a long day for me. I'm usually done by 11 or 12. Start at 5 a.m. and I try to have my day done by 11 or 12. That's 6-7 hours.
That's awesome.
So then, especially in the summertime, Natalie and I get to spend a lot of time with our kids and build a great business and live a lifestyle.
And so all sorts of awesome stuff in there.
And all you ask me is, what do you do in the morning?
I know, holy cow.
I do everything in the morning.
That's awesome. So I think one of the things I got, the living with a life's purpose and living with intention, that you hear a lot of people talk about what's your big why.
Right.
And so what would you say your big why is? Is it to have the time with family? Is that?
And my purpose, I rewrite my purpose periodically when I feel like, not that I've achieved it, but that my focus has changed. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I've achieved it, but not necessarily. I just, events in life lead me in a different direction. So my personal purpose right now is to grow in happiness and to give to others what they need while maintaining what I need, and to share with family and friends and everyone I meet something that'll make their life a little better. And that's my purpose for now. It's very different from my purpose a month ago. It's just what I need to do right now to stay off the rocks, to stay off the ship. I'm a ship at sea, and I don't want to end up on the rocks. So.
No, that's killer. That was so detailed. I'm amazed that you read. I'm curious about the one thing from Gary Keller. I read his Millionaire Real Estate Investor book.
Okay.
That was very good. Have you read that one?
I have not, but it's on my list.
It's good. A lot of the stuff, you're already doing a ton of the stuff that's in there, of course, but I'm curious about this other one. I thought it was well written. And one of the things that stood out to me is he talks about the life cycle of the business and how, eventually, if you continue to grow, you end up actually hiring a CEO. And I think that kind of goes to, going back to our big why, your purpose. He probably sees, again, the operations, managing the operations is impeding on whatever his big why was.
Sure.
At a certain point.
I'm not there yet, but that's definitely a goal.
Yeah. Well, and then I think another thing that people will probably be flabbergasted at is that you're done around 11 or so which is awesome. And I think, one of the other things I'm very interested in are the systems
right.
and systemization, if I'm saying that correctly.
That sounds right.
But so, one of the huge ones that you mentioned were VAs.
Right.
That's virtual assistant. Anybody that hasn't heard the term VA before, I use a couple VAs, and that's been a game changer.
I learned it from watching you.
And then having a good CRM. But what would you say were the systems that enabled you to not have to work that second half of the day, basically?
Well, if you don't like to read, it can be very hard for me to communicate with you because everything I learn, I go back to a book or a seminar or somebody that I've talked to. There's a book called Go for No. Can't remember the author right now, but it's very simple. Go for No. It's a very short book. And it talks about figuring out a formula in our business in real estate investing or the type of investing we do. It's how many offers I make. As a sales guy, it's how many calls, or a salesperson, how many sales calls do you have to make to meet your goal? And you look at your closing ratios, and it's all in the book. So that tells us what our daily level of activity needs to be to meet our goals. So you set your goal, and then you look at your ratios, and it's simple math to say, in our case, we need to make 5 to 7 offers a day to meet our goal. So how much of that can I automate? My VA does a lot of offers for me. We partner with a lot of people in a lot of different ways, just as I've partnered with you on things that helps with that. And it's all about leveraging our time. Today, I have 2 face-to-face meetings where I will make offers, and I only count, even though I'm meeting 2 sellers, that's 2 offers, even though I will make each seller 3 offers. So I'll make an offer that's all cash, close in 7 days, and I'm willing to write a check at this price. And you're done, you're out, we're done.
Yeah.
Then I will make another offer that will turn into a wholesale opportunity where I need 60 to 90 days to show it to partners, put a deal together. And I'm very transparent about what's going to happen, that I may be the person buying it and I may not. And this is how that works. And then the third offer will be some sort of owner finance option or a subject to or some sort of creative financing. So even though that's 6, and I write all of these down and give them to the seller on paper and glue my butt to the chair and
until they say,
try to get a commitment on one of those things today. Because you have 3 options. I make them all attractive options, listen to the seller, all that. I don't count that as 6 offers, 3 to one seller and 3 to another. It's still only 2.
Yeah.
But my VA's done some offers this morning already.
Wow.
So that's kind of how the systems work, is having a very defined approach. And Gary Keller's the one thing I need to do is buy houses.
Yeah.
Because once I've got inventory, I already have the systems in place and the networks with you and our other investor friends and many, many, many other buyers on the wholesale side. The demand is there.
Yeah.
I have to fill a vacuum. So my one thing is buying houses at wholesale prices. And then either Natalie will rehab them, you'll help me turn them into rental properties, or we'll wholesale them, assign the contract to somebody else. I just did
do their thing. Yeah.
I did 2 weeks ago. I assigned 5 houses to a group of 3 partners, and they are beyond excited to rehab and flip these 5 houses.
Wow.
Natalie and I don't want to tackle 5 rehabs when we already have 2 or 3 going on. So it's a great opportunity for John and Carolyn, and it's a great opportunity for us to move on.
Yeah.
So those are the systems. Is I think creating Kent Clothier, if people are familiar with him, he talks about reverse wholesaling by building your buyers list first. I didn't necessarily do it that way, but I think that way. That if I have the buyer in place, either I'm the buyer, Natalie's the buyer, or one of my many, many buyer contacts is the buyer, I can write a contract with confidence and make promises to the seller and deliver.
Right. Because like you said, you're serving your customer, you're serving your client's needs and adding value, and you know exactly what they want. And that's what I see a lot of new wholesalers making a mistake on, is
I agree.
They get properties under contract for prices that are too high. They aren't familiar with their end. Their end is not in mind. It's not clearly defined to them what the end result is, and they end up wasting a lot of people's time, I think.
I'm working with a young man right now who really, really has a burning desire to be a wholesaler. And I'm seeing with him what I see over and over. If you're listening to this and you're interested in becoming a wholesaler,